friend, oh my friend. Say hello to the sorrow. Say goodbye for the last time. You must say goodbye for the last time. And with a sigh and these tears that I cry, oh my friend, oh my friend, oh my friend, oh my friend. Say goodbye for the last time.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Fratangelo, and welcome to our show, Last Goodbye Dash Book, Heroes of America. Introduce my crew, executive producer Nicole, Fratangelo-Berardi, our commentators Ralph Narciso, Jenn Pro, and Ray-Stingray. We have a guest tonight, Giles. We're going to talk about Agent Orange and its effect on loved ones, how it's taken so many lives and had so many veterans suffering from its effects. I want to talk about a few of my friends who I've lost, not only lost, but many of them are sick. Giles is going to tell us about his and Tim. And anyway, I want to thank our Roberta produced this song and say goodbye for the last time. Anyway, let's get the show started. Giles, can you hear me?
Jonna, can you please just stop for a minute?
Yeah, I got you, John.
Okay, introduce yourself to the public and tell them, what you want to talk about.
Giles Purvis, originally from Rockland County, New York. Friend of Ralph Narciso, childhood friend. Grew up in West Nyack. Retired auto mechanic. Basically, biker. Working part-time for Advanced Auto Parts right now in my retirement. I'm on the show tonight. My best friend, Timmy, who was my neighbor for over 30 years in Middletown, New York. Vietnam veteran who died from multiple sclerosis and diagnosed from getting multiple sclerosis from Agent Orange. And that's pretty well while I'm on this show tonight.
Want to give us a little background about Tim?
Yes. Timmy is, of course, just like John. Those guys were drafted right out of high school into Vietnam right before the Tet Offensive of 1968. Served until 1969, wounded twice. Purple Heart recipient, Bronze Star with Oak Leaves, and many other medals that he's got hanging on the wall still in his home. Had passed away 2 years ago on April 16th from complications of multiple sclerosis, who he fought a very long battle with for many, many years, as long as I know him.
Did he have a family?
What's that?
Did he have a family?
Yes, he did. He has his wife Donna was his high school sweetheart. They were dating when he went to Vietnam. Got married when he came home, and they just got finished celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary before he passed away. He has two daughters, Christine and Kimberly. Everybody still lives in Middletown, in the Middletown area up here in Hudson Valley in Orange County, New York. Christine has two daughters and a son. Kimberly has 2 sons and a daughter, so 6 grandchildren. I'm still very good friends with Donna. I just got off the phone with her Saturday after talking to John, Nikki, and Ralph to get a little information on where Timmy has been with the VA, Castle Point, and the VA offices in Goshen, and of course the Point Man project that was started in the early 1990s by Governor Byrne and then taken over by Governor Keene, as far as I know, and the best information I could get from Donna. He was there for 10 days, along with 2 of his other platoon buddies, Bobby Candela and Larry Hackett. Larry Hackett has passed away from cancer due to Agent Orange. Okay, Bobby Candela has one of his kids has defects, birth defects. They consider that also from Agent Orange. Okay, so a lot of tragedy. I know what we call Sandy Sandoval just passed away also. He was another platoon member of Timmy's that just passed away last year of Agent Orange, cancer from Agent Orange. Those guys were in the Central Highland area, Quang Tri Province. They were up there in the Ashore Valley, which is Operation Delaware. Of course, John knows in that area, they went down to Tain Inn where the Big Red One was. One of their last positions. All that area was heavily sprayed with Agent Orange. They'll, try to open up the Ho Chi Minh Trail so they could pretty much expose the bad guys running supplies down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. So pretty much everything that was diagnosed at, I don't think it was at Rutgers University. I think Rutgers University was involved with the Point Man project. I don't remember what building they were in down in New Jersey when they went through this program. But pretty much when the program was over, Timmy did get the results from this program, but they pretty well squashed it. So a lot of people that were looking for funds and lawsuits over the years, how to go after the manufacturer of Agent Orange. We all know that is. So some people before, I think it was 1994, did get settlements. As far as I know, again, this is what I know. After that, you pretty well had to sue DuPont on your own to get any kind of settlement out of them.
Do you know how long after the service did Tim start having these?
I can't say that I know. I moved next to him in 1985. He was already diagnosed with multiple sclerosis since 1981. So his brother also, which I'll bring into the picture too, his brother was in the Navy, Vietnam veteran. He died of multiple sclerosis too. He was exposed to either Agent Orange on ships or somehow came in contact with that, or from atomic weapons. They don't know, but they figured that both of them, something triggered, like I guess we all have these cells in our body, just like cancer, and it always takes something to trigger it. So whether it's the defoliants or whatever was in Agent Orange, with Tommy, his brother Tommy, I can't say that I know that for sure, but Tommy died before Timmy of multiple sclerosis. He only had it maybe about 6 years before he passed away. Timmy dealt with it for 30 plus years that I know him. So, that's all the kind of information that I have. He was in Castle Point. As the years went by, and he was getting very sick and immobile. He did spend some time in Castle Point. I have to say, I used to go over there at least once a week, and I'd bring dinner. They were very good to him over there. They were good to his wife, Donna. They were a lot of help for his situation at home, being, in the condition that he was in. And I have nothing good to say about that. Some of my friends that I was in the Non-Nice Motorcycle Club actually worked over there at Castle Point. So I know Jimmy Duffy, when I used to go there, he used to work the gate there when I went there. So, that's my experience with Tim and, the VA as far as I know it.
Hey, Giles,
Yeah,
did you get from when he was there in Castle Point, did the people treating him, like the doctors, and I'm not talking about nurses, I'm talking about doctors and people who are closer to the higher echelon in Castle Point, did they acknowledge that this was from Agent Orange, or were they like, just beating around the bush?
I'm going to say, I don't know if I can actually say this, but I'm going to say they were not acknowledging it. Okay, they were not acknowledging it. In my opinion, that's my opinion. Do I have medical records? Does Donna have any history of this? As far as I know, and I couldn't probably say doctors' names to begin with, but I would say eventually, Ralph, for him to get 100%, somebody pulled the string somewhere to get him 100% disability for his illnesses. So, that's all I can say that I know about that.
Charles, I got a question. What inspired you about your friend the most that got you involved into keeping his legacy alive and awareness to people out
When I first moved next to him and he invited me over to the house one night, when I got home from work, it just was one of those things where we just hit it off, right away, and of course, when he was getting immobile and he, he was having a hard time, we used to fly down to DC out of LaGuardia for many years and take the shuttle. It was to the point where his illness was so bad with multiple sclerosis that driving him down there was not even in the question. We used to take the shuttle, JetBlue shuttle, because if he did have problems, I could get him home every hour. They had a flight coming back to LaGuardia into DC, so I could get him back home. I used to have to carry a bag of medicine with me. I could sit here and talk for hours on all the times he would go into convulsions, and it was a pretty rough time and very scary for me sometimes.
Charles, my wife's
Giles.
uncle.
It's Giles, but you can call me Gil. If that'll make it easier, Ray.
You could call me Ray. You could call me Jay. You could call me Ray. It doesn't matter as long as you call me for dinner. I'm happy. But no, all joking aside, my wife's uncle Tony Kelly was a Vietnam vet. He also died of Agent Orange, and it took the VA quite a bit of time to acknowledge that he had it, and that when he died, that's when my wife's aunt had gotten benefits. I don't think that it should have taken that amount of time for someone who served and gave all. They should have given the benefits right away, not when the guy dies like 4 or 5 years later.
It took Timmy, like I was saying in the beginning, a total of 18 years before he finally got 100% benefit, full disability from the VA. And it was a fight every year. I know I was there. I didn't go to a lot of the meetings with him and his wife, but I was neighbor. I can't tell you how close we were. We were very close. And I know his fight. He never gave up. There was other guys in his platoon that lived in Syracuse, a guy named Nick Donvito. And the first time that we went to Syracuse and met Larry and them up there, his other good buddy in the platoon, Nick Donvito was a cop in Syracuse, and he was going through troubles with the VA. And, I remember him telling Timmy, he's like, you cannot give up. You have to fight, 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 because they're going to try to knock you down every inch of the way. And I can tell you, I've seen this personally. I don't want to knock anybody or the VA. It was hard, and it took him a long time to get the full benefits. But I can tell you also, Ray, when he did, they were very helpful. You're talking wheelchairs that are probably $15,000-$16,000, if I remember right. They'd supplied him with. Plus, they came and put an elevator on the back deck for him, so Donna could take him down the elevator and pull him in the pool or take him out to the van. They had a handicap van with a ramp, that would unload and he could load in the ramp. So they were helpful. I don't want to knock the VA total. It's a struggle. I'm not a veteran, never had to deal with this stuff myself, but they did go to bat for him sooner or later. But it was a struggle and it was a fight, and I'm sure he wasn't the only one.
you know something? I consider you an American hero, even though you didn't serve. And the reason why is that you're carrying your friend's legacy and telling the people, look, this guy struggled and he gave all, and I'm going to take his name and I'm going to keep on fighting for whatever, I have to do, or do whatever I have to do to get the word out to the community and to the people, and that to me is beyond, you're beyond a hero.
Yeah, Ray, I can speak to that, Ray, having grown up with in our later years, our childhood years, with Giles, and the whole bunch of us that stuck together. We called ourselves affectionately the tribe, and there was always, if anyone needed a hand with anything, we were out there to help. And Giles was one of the first ones to always give a hand anytime. And God bless his father, who just passed away. I'd like to mention him too. That's where Giles gets his, his seed from. His father was unbelievable, always willing to help, and just a great all around American, a great all around person. So I applaud him.
Thank you, Ralph. That was very nice. I'm sure Dad's up there smiling down on all of us, buddy. You know how religious he was.
Oh yeah.
Um, I'll just say one thing, Ray, on your comment there, and John will know this very well because he was there, been there, done that. I know Timmy. Every single one of those guys in the platoon were wounded. I am not telling you a lie about this. Every single guy in his platoon that I've known over the years was wounded at least once. When they came home and had nothing, and even Timmy did not wear his uniform when he came home. He was told, don't wear your uniform when you come home. That's how bad it was for these guys when they came home. John knows this also. So they, I don't know if I can use this language, but had a hard on for this country and the government for many, many, many years. I've seen this with all his buddies, okay? They didn't want any part of the VA. If they didn't have to deal with it, they didn't want to deal with it at all. They were felt left out, they were abandoned. And you know the stories. You've been talking about it for a long, long time. These guys felt their country screwed them big time, and they still feel that way. Okay, I know this for a fact.
Right.
It's really. I'm sorry, but it's unfortunate that that it takes this for people to talk. Like, why talk now? They should have talked then. And the respect, why did it take all this time for the respect? So pizza, let me ask you something. You're looking at this story here. Tell me what you think about this.
Well, all right, before I get to that, but I want to say something, John. I have to say, back then, the VA was horrible. Okay? Here's what I think happened now. Those old, when you went there, they were like, it was like a butcher shop. You had they gave you no respect. They gave you no, they got rid of you as soon as they can. You went in there, you were waiting for hours just to try to get seen by someone, talk to somebody. Okay, so what I think happened now, all those old son of a bees are dead now, okay, in plain English, and the Vietnam vets came of age and started taking over the Veterans Affairs. You know what I mean? And I think that's what helped a lot because they knew what it was like. So a lot of the Vietnam veterans are the ones who are taking care of these modern vets, and they're giving them the respect and the treatment they have. I'll tell you, the VA got very. I go to an appointment. They take 10 o'clock. I'm in there at 10 o'clock. I get my medicine. I get everything I need, and they're right on, spot on, man. So it's gotten. I have to say 100% better because they were brutal. They were brutal. They didn't care about anything, and that's what aggravates so many veterans. The VA treated them with no respect at all. That's all they went through. And
why is that? Why is it so hard for the VA to take care of their own?
Well, it's not that bad now. I mean, it's much better. Like I was.
Why was it though?
Why was it? Yeah.
I think because the government didn't want to hand out money. Okay?
I was going to say, John,
Huh?
the funding was not there. They were not given the funds to take care of business. And you're right.
Yeah, they
It's the
told me-
Vietnam vets.
Right.
The Vietnam vets. You guys are the one that turned the table. It's you guys. You just said that. That's a fact. I know. I've seen it with my own eyes. Okay? The never ending, we need help. We want help. You need to, take care of us. We served our country. We didn't run away, but the Vietnam veterans are what turned it around, John.
Right. And even the Iraqi vets, the Afghan vets, tell us that the Vietnam vets turned it around for them. That they got respect and everything like that, and everything's so different now because of the Vietnam veterans.
But the problem is we gotta hope and pray to God that the funds that are supposed to be going there continue to be going there, and that they don't cut these funds out.
Yeah, but see, Ray, you've got a lot of organizations now that are on top of this. You got the VFW, you got the DAV, you got Vietnam Veterans of America. You got there's so many organizations that watch this, and they won't let the government get away with it. They'll fight them now to make sure the veterans get what they deserve.
Yeah, like they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So the more people that speak up about it, and the more pull you've got. If you have organizations that are organized and are organized in their lobbying of Congress, because congressmen could care less where they put their money. They want to put their money where the person who is talking the loudest and the one who's backing more votes for them. Let's get real. Politicians are only there to get elected in the next election cycle. And the only way to get elected is by having the votes. So if you have a group of people that say, hey, we represent all these people, they're all going to vote for you if you support us. That's how you get the funding.
One of the ways, right?
Yeah. I still think it's unfortunate. I mean, your friend is a perfect example of what it is to be an American. The sacrifice that he gave, the suffering that he gave for all this time. That's what people should realize is that, don't get me wrong, it was sad that any vet that dies in a war or any American that dies is one too many. But I think that, it's unfortunate again that, that we're talking about it now and that the process is so slow, that,
What I'm gonna do is I got a list because a lot of veterans don't know this. So I got to put the light on and my glasses. I got to see what I'm doing. But this is a list of diseases caused from Agent Orange exposure. Okay, so the veterans, a lot of them don't know. Some of them do, a lot of them don't know it. Okay, number one is the acute and subacute peripheral neuropathy, which I have. Okay, but I didn't claim anything on the veterans yet. Okay, AL amyloidosis. Okay, chloroquine or similar acneiform disease, chronic B-cell leukemias, diabetes mellitus type 2, Hodgkin's disease, this is a hard word to pronounce, ischemic heart disease, multiple myeloma, non-Hodgkin's, lymphoma, Parkinson's disease, porphyria cutaneous, CARTA, prostate cancer. I got to be a doctor to read this. Respiratory cancers, soft tissue sarcoma. These are the diseases that and the list grows. Every so often they'll add another disease when it starts getting more and more affecting on people. So a lot of people don't know, but that's something they can claim.
Yep, that's amazing.
I can tell you the amount of pills that Timmy used to take a day to stay alive. I can't even 30, 40. Literally, he would take a handful of pills 3 times a day because not only did he have multiple sclerosis, but all the other things that go with it. Cerebral palsy was coming along, epilepsy, diabetes, you name it, he had it. He was having heart problems. They couldn't do surgery. He still had shrapnel, John, when water ran out, telling you they got it in his shoulder and in his neck. So, they couldn't even do surgeries on him after a while when he had strokes and heart attacks. It was pretty brutal. And it's definitely for Major Orange Blood.
Have you ever considered suicide?
Yes, he did. In fact, when he came home from Castle Point, he had 3 pistols. I mean, I used to go shoot with him once in a while. The doctors told Donna, his wife, to hide his guns. So she put his guns upstairs in the attic. And what? This is the funny part about that. She gave him a bullet that he kept in his drawer, his office drawer. That's all you're gonna get is a bullet. That'll make you happy. But your guns got taken away from him.
Oh,
And
God.
yeah, but he had 3 nice pistols too. He had a Walter and he had a Ruger. I can't think of the model of it. And then he had a Smith and Wesson 357, which that thing was a cannon. But anyway, but yeah, they took his guns away, bud.
Giles, like the theme of our show tonight is not just the Vietnam veteran, of course, how he was affected with this Agent Orange and the way the VA treated him and all that, but we also want to know, how was his family and the people around him affected? Did you see that? Did you feel that from his family members?
Kimberly, his youngest daughter, has a lot of medical issues going on. Okay. Again, I can't say positively that her medical conditions are from, him being sprayed and passing it through the genes. It's a very possible. Again, Christine is very healthy, his oldest daughter. The girls, Kimberly was more involved with her father than Christine. Okay. Donna, being his high school sweetheart and married for 50 something years, she was right there with him, tooth and nail, fighting for everything that she could get. So, she had some strong feelings about the VA, until everything came to fruit for him. But it did take a long time. Like Ray said before, why does it take so long to get these people help? Okay. Right. And again, it's bureaucracy, it's politics, and funding. So, this is my own experience, what I saw. But his family was very, very supportive. And Kimberly and I, you might even see her on Facebook me once in a while when I post something about Timmy, Ralph. It's like, right. we're close.
Yeah.
We're very close.
It takes a special person, especially as a spouse. When someone has multiple sclerosis that was as bad as he had it, it affects him so physically that as his spouse has now lost her partner for so many things, that she can't do with him anymore, and fortunately for him, she stuck with him. But there are stories out there in the private sector, you could read them, about people who just leave their family member, their spouse, over this because they can't handle it. They can't handle someone who's now become a burden to them. They look at it as a burden, and that's the real unfortunate part. And I'm sure there's stories out there of Vietnam veterans that lost their spouses or significant other through this thing.
The woman is a saint. I mean, honestly, no doubt about it, Ralph. She stuck with him through thick and thin, buddy. And you're right. A lot of people would not deal with that. And especially right before he passed away, Donna was dealing with her mother in a nursing home, plus him. So this poor girl, you're talking 24/7. She's got a monitor. He had his own bedroom downstairs. She had a monitor to listen to him, while she was trying to sleep upstairs. It was brutal, bud. I told you, I used to go over there at least once a week just so she could get out of the house for a while and get away from it. And I take care of him all day, buddy. But, when you got to change somebody's diapers, you're humiliated, especially as a guy. I don't care. Your life becomes, and I'm going to tell you right now, he asked me to shoot him. Okay. I get very emotional about this, but I'm telling you, this is the truth. He was begging me. He didn't ask me. He begged me because that's how miserable he was. He didn't want to be here anymore.
It's sad.
And it was a life of hell. A life of hell.
Very, very, very sad. But what I was wanted to ask you is if your friend was alive right now, right this moment, and on our show, what would he say to the people? Like, what message do you think that he would send out to the listeners?
Well, this is what Timmy's favorite saying was: Alpha Fox, Alpha Mike Foxtrot. And can I curse on this program?
No.
Because it means adios, mother. And that was it, okay? And that was his call. He was an RTO and he was a radio man. So that was his favorite saying. Whenever we would depart ways, it's like Alpha Mike Foxtrot. And I knew exactly what that meant. And that was pretty much his attitude, okay?
Right, right. And I mean, this is a far-fetched question, but what do you think about what's going on? I mean, not just with your friend, what's going on over at, with these the Marines, with the Camp Lejeune situation with the cancers. You feel the same way. Do you think by you sending out this message, maybe these guys will go forward to get benefits?
Well, from what we all see the commercials. I mean, the television is flooded with the commercials. I don't care what program you're looking at. And I think we're all sitting here, friends with John, we're all rooting for them. They're getting money. So go get whatever you can get out of this. I mean, their families have been infected too. Like we're talking about Agent Orange. It's the same thing. They've been drinking that water. They've got cancer. It's been passed down to their families. This just doesn't go away. You're talking generations of contamination here. So hey, and the guy that I'm seeing on TV, what is he? He's a Marine vet that started this whole thing, right? To get the people up and get going to get compensated for this stuff. So it's the veterans that are fighting for everything they get. They always have to. That's always the way it's been.
Yeah. I belong to a bunch of groups. Purple Heart, Chapter 21, appointment. I belong to my PSC group, also. And I'm going to tell you, every one of them, bar none, something wrong with them, raging on. They either have heart disease, diabetes, kidneys, it's every single one, and they're all under treatment. Okay? And personally, my friends that served with me in Vietnam, my recon, after 45 years, back in 2011, when we finally caught up with each other, I met 8 of them. Okay, spoke to one on the phone, and told me that he had cancer. He died 2 weeks later after that phone call. My good friend David C., who I mentioned a lot in the book, he would feed himself through a tube. Yeah. He had cancer of the mouth. They were taking his jaw piece by piece. They were taking his tongue piece by piece. He couldn't speak well anymore. He had to go for speech lessons. He was feeding, like I said, feeding through a tube for 5 years. Finally passed away. My friend Tex, who was also mentioned a lot in the book, died of cancer shortly after David C. Charles House, who was another one, died of heart disease. Every other one of them that I know of, something wrong with them. Okay? And I blame the government. I like I say all the time, I'm so angry with our government for doing this to the average Joe who doesn't mean anything to them. They don't mean nothing to them at all. They just brush it aside like we don't exist, or we didn't exist. It's just terrible.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, John. It's call it the peons or whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, look at the struggles. DuPont and them, they knew what was going on for so many years. They did everything they could do to cover this up and bury it. Okay, anybody that got in their way, they were either buying them out or doing whatever they could do to shut them up. So it's disgusting. It's brutal. It's horrifying, and it's very, very sad that people, because your buddies, and I know several other guys in Timmy's platoon, that have died from cancer from this. And there's probably other guys in the other two platoons that are worse off too, that I don't know.
The sad part about it is that I got friends. One was a lieutenant colonel. Okay, he said, John, he says it was raining down on me. Okay, he's got all kinds of problems. It was raining down on me. Okay, and they're telling the GIs that it was only going to destroy the foliage. Okay, it wasn't harmful to humans. Okay, and they knew damn well that it was. So this will drive me nuts.
It still is. You see, even you see the commercials for people who do commercial lawn work and stuff that were exposed to the weed killer. Forget the name of it now. Roundup. That's in cancer too now, and same thing. Oh, it's safe. It's safe. You spray it on the. These people spraying it in the air, and all they're using to cover their face is a scarf. Now, if you knew that stuff was that dangerous, wouldn't you recommend a respirator, a full suit? But they don't. They don't. It's the same thing every time. Commercial, big business, follow the money trail. Where does the money trail lead to? Who's in cahoots with it? What congressman said it was okay to give this money to them? We're gonna give you a contract. Who did that? Those people are like faceless and nameless. You'll never know who was involved in that. Never.
Well, they figure, well, they won't find out for 50 years from now. We'll be gone.
Right, exactly. Exactly. They wash their hands.
Right.
Yeah, let's pass the buck to the next one and blame this one, that one, instead of sitting down and coming with a solution. Totally agreed.
All right.
Sad. Very sad.
It is.
John, but here's another thing. We mentioned about the effects on the family, and I'm sure like Tim, when he was begging you to shoot him, okay, was feeling remorse for his wife that he wanted to put himself down to give her a break from all this hard it was.
Yeah, John, it was a combination of that too. And the only thing he had movement in was his right hand. I can't tell you how debilitating it is, if I'm even saying the right word, when you cannot take care of yourself anymore. It's horrible. I mean, I had a cousin that died of muscular dystrophy when he was 26. So my cousin Timmy, his name was Timmy too. It's the same thing. I mean, when you're not mobile and you can't function, you don't want to. There's nothing there to keep you going. I used to tell them all the time, you got grandkids, they love you, you got to hang on as long as you can, trying to pump them up and, at least try to, make them feel positive. When I was over there visiting him and, taking care and changing his diapers and stuff, but but I wasn't the only one too, he had a good friend, Bobby Cicino, that was in the 1st to the 7th Cav, and Bobby and him met at On K, okay? And Bobby lives in Long Island, but I went over, Bobby was there before me one day, and Bobby said the same, said, you know what he asked me to do today? I'm like, I know what he asked you to do. He asked me to do the same thing, I said, he's miserable, Bob. He doesn't want to be here anymore. Can you blame the poor guy? I mean, really, And then it got to the point too, he had no mind function anymore. So, I would be with him all day, and I was one of his high school buddies. It's like dementia coming in. He didn't even know it was me with him. It was getting to that point. He wouldn't even recognize Don, his own wife after a while. So it's horrible to see. And I told Ralph when I was telling you, I used to cry going home from his house, buddy. I've known him when he was still pretty healthy and able to walk and move around. And I can tell you, we went to concerts. I have done so much together with that guy. He's one of the best friends. Ralph never had the opportunity to meet him, but a lot of our other friends did meet him at the Super Bowl parties I had in my house. Just a super nice guy. His wife, Donna, their kid, just great people. And when you see somebody go down like that, God, it's heartbreaking. It killed me, killed me. He would have these epileptic fits. I was in D.C. with him one year. We were coming out of an Italian restaurant, and the guys in his platoon didn't realize how bad he was. They're walking up the street. We're in Georgetown area. They're walking up the street. Well, Timmy, had an epileptic fit. And I'm supposed to have this bag of medicine with me, that I have to put down his mouth, down his throat. I got to squeeze a toothpaste, a tube, I'm like a medic, okay?
Wow.
And I didn't bring the bag. I forgot it. I can't tell you how scared I was. I'm sitting in between these two cars with his head in my lap, looking up, going, God, please, And then Jimmy Nix, one of the big Southern boys, comes over to, come on, Giles, let's get his ass up into the restaurant. And the both of us had his arm. And I went in the restaurant and I knew I had to get him sugar. I know that would bring him back, out of this, epileptic fit he was going. And I'm screaming at these poor waiters, I need orange juice, I need orange juice. And I'm giving glasses of orange juice. And I got up, I'm telling you, it was terrifying for me to deal with this. It really was rough, I can tell you.
And you talked about a diabetic seizure, or not an
Yeah,
epileptic?
yeah. He not only had John, he had malaria. Okay, he had diabetes. I told you he was getting cerebral palsy. He had epileptic fits. All of this stuff. It just wasn't the multiple sclerosis. He had all these other things compounded. And MS. It just tears your body apart piece by piece. It deteriorates your body. I mean, the man lived on prednisone. It was horrible, bud. Horrible.
I had a friend of mine who was a plumber also. Who actually, I think it's about 3 or 4 years now. He had MS. He got so bad. So he was going to the gym. He worked out a lot more. He got so bad that he ended up blowing his brains out, and they found him in the cabin dead.
Again, you know what I told you before, buddy. And I guarantee if Timmy had access to his pistols, he would have done it. There's no doubt in my mind he would have done that. It only takes so much, bud.
Yeah. So what what you're saying, what you're explaining to our listeners now, and I'm getting it too, and I understand it already, but a lot of people don't. And I think we got to bring that point across is that the mushrooming effect of this Agent Orange, what it's done, it not only infected and destroyed so many lives, but then you, your friends, your family members now, and your friends who hear it and they tell their friends, and it's this mushroom effect of all these people that are affected, and to hear these horror stories, it's like, Giles, I'm surprised you're not suffering from PTSD for what you've done, seriously, because putting yourself in that position, just a friend, you're not even a family member, you're a friend, and you did so much for Timmy. It just amazes me that, I never knew any of this. And hearing it from you now, I'm like in awe, and I just want our listeners to understand that point is that it starts with one thing that and somebody in the government that I don't want to start getting angry right now and blowing my stack, but that's the way I feel. Someone in our government, some nameless, faceless bureaucrat who made this stuff go through, and now look at how much it's mushroomed and how much it affects.
Well, I was just thinking about, what you guys were just saying and thinking about, oh my God, the effects of watching someone suffer like that, you see the person and, one day that person was as healthy as could be. And then the next minute, that person's dying, and the mental and physical and emotional stress to family and friends and it's I can't even like imagine. I mean, it's so sad, really sad. And I think about like now, on what a loyal friend you are to go out and speak about this, to bring awareness to the situation, and thinking about like right now in my mind, how sick you got to be to want to just end it all, I mean, you're talking about a guy who gave all in the military, went through all the military, went all through Vietnam like pizza, and now you're dying, and you know that there's no hope, and you're just hanging on, and you're contemplating and begging, to die. It just should not be like this.
There's a lot of people suffering out there. They're in my prayers every day. Right? I can't. Again, I was so close to him after a while. We went through so much together. Every time he was in a hospital, I was in a hospital with him. It was. I'm starting to cry now. It's pretty rough.
Well, why?
One thing I'll say, his platoon buddies, when he couldn't make the trips to DC anymore, I finally told Donna one year, I'm like, Donna, I can't do this anymore. I said, he had an epileptic attack. Have you ever been in DC? Union Station is the big railway station and subways there. He went down on me in the street. Thank God, somebody in a car got out and helped me get him up off the. I'm in the middle of the road with him, and helped me get him off into a grass area. So and I'm losing my concentration. I'm talking the story, but when Donna, I told her I can't do this anymore. It's like I'm so afraid he's gonna go on me. That's how bad he was gotten to that point. But once he stayed home, buddy, all his buddies came over to the house every Veterans Day. They never get, we used to call it the Range Platoon Reunion. Those guys came up every single year. They never stopped meeting each other. So, you talk about camaraderie, John knows with his buddies. That's something we'll never know. Never in our lifetime. We'll know something like that.
What was one of your memorable moments that you can remember with him?
Oh my God, there's hundreds of them, bud. Okay, so we're at a concert at the Orange County Fairgrounds over here. I can't even remember who we saw that night. It might have been Hart or somebody. But Timmy and I are walking up, and we come up to the fence. So everybody's climbing up over the fence to get over instead of going down and out one of the exits. So Timmy's got the bright idea. We're going over the fence, okay? It's the first cab forward. We're going over the fence. And of course, the top of the fence are like this, okay? If you can see this. I'm like, you're not going to make it over the fence. He goes, I'm going to make it. Well, no matter how much I try to convince him, just come down to the gate. I'll go get the car. I'll come down and pick you up. He wouldn't do it. So he tries to go over the fence. He ripped both his hands wide open. I'm talking, just was unbelievable. So now I got to take him to the hospital up there in Middletown. So of course, he gets a guy. He's a Vietnamese doctor. I swear to God, this is the truth. So Timmy's got both of his hands in these pads in the solution, and this guy's the plastic surgeon, and he comes in and Timmy goes to him, before you even touch me, what side were you on? And the guy looked at him like, you're kidding me, right? He goes, no, I'm not kidding.
Oh, man.
And it never, it never left him. But I mean, I got 100 stories with him. We had some great times, buddy. I mean, that's just one of them. He tore his hands to pieces. I don't know how many stitches he got. And now they've got to call Donna. And Donna's like furious. She's out of line with me. She's going to kill me when I get home. She goes, he's with him. He better bring him home in the morning. I'm not coming over there. Let him bring him home. So I did, full of bandage and full of stitches. But yeah, that's one of my favorite stories with him. But that was, yeah, what side were you on? Never goes away, bud.
Well, at least he was honest, you know? Yeah, he wanted to know, are you on side A or side B? Because there's no in between.
And another story I got to bring up. We were sitting in our hotel room at the Phoenix Park Hotel. That's where we used to stay every year on Veterans Day in Washington, D.C. So Timmy's telling me about the time they called this battle in Ashore Valley, Granneman's Hill. And when I read John's book, and he was talking about the 10-second and the 5-second with the grenade, right? When you're practicing throwing grenades. Timmy's telling me a story, good and bad. They walked into an ambush, and of course, the bad guys let him and a couple other guys get through the killing zone, and then they opened up on him. So everybody in back of him is down and out. Timmy and two other guys, every time I picked up my head over this log, I could see the guy with they had a 51 caliber machine gun, right, John? I could see this guy with a 51 caliber trying to shoot my head off with a big smile on his face. So he says, I get around, I crawl around this log. He said, I take my grenade out and I pull the pin and I threw the grenade in the bunker. He said, and they threw it back out and it landed next to me. So John's talking about the 10-second rule, right, John?
Yeah.
You pull it, you throw it, but you're supposed to wait 5 seconds with this live grenade in your hand and then throw it when you're in close range. And him and I'm telling you, it was the funniest thing. You had to see his face. I can't even describe it. I mean, he was reliving this whole thing. We were rolling on the floor. I told him, well, Tim, 10 seconds or 10 seconds. You got to hold that thing for 5 before you went in there. But he was lucky to roll away from it when it blew up, but didn't get hurt and still got off the hill alive. But yeah, that's some of the stuff, some of the funny stuff with him.
Hey, Jen, you didn't say anything all night. What do you want to say anything?
I don't know. I'm afraid to say too much. I don't want to get us in trouble, but I just, to me, this whole thing is infuriating. Ralph, I know you probably feel like something got the gist of how you feel as well. It's infuriating that our government, they put you in this position. It's almost like they treated them like they were disposables. It's not okay. It's not. I mean, people, a lot volunteered to do what they did, but some were forced due to the draft. But they were exposed to this, and like you said, John, they know exactly what that chemical was, that it wasn't just killing these weeds. And yet afterwards, where were they when they needed them? Where were they when they needed their help? I just don't understand. I just don't understand that. I really cannot wrap my head around that.
There's a term for it, and I forget exactly, but it's like I forget it, but it's been said in plenty of war movies, like, not almost like, see no evil, hear no evil kind of thing. But if you're telling me that you put a defoliant down in Vietnam from the air that was strong enough, and John can tell you what that jungle was like, strong enough to clear a jungle. We're not talking about lawn weeds. We're talking about a jungle, right, John?
Yeah.
And you're strong enough to clear that. You trying to tell me that you did not know that would hurt humans? I mean, John, right?
Me and Judy went to when we visited our parents in Florida. We went to Disney World, right? And I couldn't walk through. I was, getting up. It was only a few years ago. So I sit down where she went to walk to see what was going on in the pavilion. So I was sitting on a bench, and I had my Vietnam cap on, and this guy was walking, and he told me on bench, and he said, "Oh, you in Vietnam?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I was there. I was in the Navy." And we started talking. He told me that he was in charge of the chemicals, right? And he said, "You think Agent Orange was bad? They got another chemical. It was purple. Call it something, purple something, right?" He said, "That was even worse than Agent Orange." He said, "There was so many chemicals there that people don't even know about." Okay? So we're only focused on Agent Orange. We don't know anything about this other stuff. But he told me this purple stuff is worse. And they were dumping it on Vietnam just like Agent Orange.
I got the term now. I looked it up on my phone. It's called plausible deniability. The ability of people, typically senior officials in a formal or informal chain of command, to deny knowledge of or responsibility for any damnable actions committed by members of their organizational hierarchy. Plausible deniability. That is what our government and our commanders in our military go back on. That, they didn't know. They didn't know. Plausible deniability. I didn't know. It's a
They say
shame.
the soil in Vietnam is still so severely contaminated.
I can imagine.
Doubt it.
And that's an angle that I didn't even think of until you just said it.
I just read it. I just looked it up. They say that the soil in the 28 bases that were over there and the soil surrounding those 28 bases is still so contaminated and affects their food chain because you're growing their food, it's in the soil.
Right. And we get back to the mushroom effect. Now, what about all the generations of Vietnamese people and children? That's going to go on for centuries.
Correct.
Yes.
You know, it's a good point that you bring that up, Jen. It's not like, I mean, again, it was tragic any American that died, but the aftermath is the real tragedy of the amounts of that are dying now. You know, the aftermath of this is what's really devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't forget, not only did they spread, just think of all the bombs that were dropped
Mm-hmm.
on that country, and what happens to the earth and everything that just goes flying all over the place. You know how many bombs were dropped in Vietnam?
Yeah. Right.
Thousands and thousands of them. And just
What about napalm?
I can tell you too, when I was talking about Timmy, they were trying to relieve the Marines at Quai Son, right, John? And of course, the Rolling Thunder is the bomb, the B-52 attack. And he witnessed that before they went up to relieve the Marines. And I'm telling you, he told me the holes in the ground were so big that if you fell in one, you had to have a line thrown to get you out because you could not climb back out of it. That's how big those bombs were and what devastation they told him you got to go look for body counts. He was saying we would find fingernails and pieces of human remains everywhere. I mean, it just obliterated people. It was
absolutely
brutal.
Giles, when they bombed, you heard those bombs, they were, just visualize an automatic weapon going off. That's how the bombs were going. That's bomb, B-52, 500 pounds. Okay?
Right.
Like
he was saying too, John, right? The arc light from this thing. I mean, they were dropping. He said you couldn't see the planes, you couldn't hear them. All of a sudden, like you said, John, in rows, and he said there was an arc light that just lit up the sky like it was daylight from these things. It was pretty brutal stuff.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I explained in the book. We saw a crater from a 500 pounder, and we all remember the movie The Thing from Another Planet.
Yeah.
When they found the flying saucer in the ice.
Right.
Well, they made themselves go in a circle to see the shape of the thing that they were seeing below the ice. Well, that's what we did. We went around the crater. We all went around the crater, and I'm telling you, it was huge. So it's just amazing. It's unbelievable how people. I mean.
And what you're saying, John, is exactly the real reason why you wrote your book, The Last Goodbye, is to tell people about what it's like to actually be in a war, what it does, the effects it have, what we're talking about tonight with the mushrooming effect, the things that people would never think of, like Jen mentioned, the contamination of the soil, the generations of Vietnamese people, the generations of veterans affected by this, and what war does to the mind, to the physical sense, to your safety of feeling you're safe in the world. This is why you wrote the book, The Last Goodbye, and we got to get that across to the people who are listening that we cannot keep going down this road of having wars over stupid stuff like oil or whatever the hell it is the next reason, right? I mean, that's
funny.
Right. Follow the money trail once again.
Well, I think I was telling you before the show that a friend of mine who actually Ralph, he worked in General Motors, John Pascal. He was in the Cuban. Mm-hmm. He had lost a leg in Vietnam, and I had given him a book. He called me. He wrote me a nice letter. All right. I got it. I called him, and actually this morning, very day, and we were talking. He said, "John, I read your book." He said, "I love it, man." He said, "You have no idea." He said, "I can relate to this book from the streets of the Bronx to but the thing that really got to him was that you don't a lot of books you read, but they don't really go into details of what a person goes through when they're wounded." Okay.
Mhm.
He said, "When I was reading your book, when you held on, reached behind you and held on to the bedpost," he said, "when the doctors grabbed your leg and all this," he said, he says, "I know you because I had to do the same thing when they were messing around with my leg, you know, lost his leg, but I don't know if they had to cut it off if he just got going."
Mhm.
But he said he was reaching back just like me. He said he couldn't believe it. He said it's humble, and people don't know this. People don't know the incidentals that go with
Right.
getting wounded and the healing process and all the things you got to go through.
Right.
He,
And,
he,
and
he was appreciative of that book.
absolutely, in your book, it's so gripping that one section of your recovery in that hospital with the infection and everything, and you could feel the pain through your words that you were experiencing, even though I know I did not feel that pain. God forbid I would never want to. What you went through, though, I could feel it from the way you wrote your book.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And you know what, Pizza? You know, the aftermath again, like, you have arthritis, you have this, you have that. That's what people need to understand is it's that, yeah, the war, people died and everything, but they need to understand the pain and the suffering that you're living, and every other Vietnam or any other vet, whether it's from the Second World War or whatever wars, the pain that they live every single day.
Right.
And
That's what I say. I doing that section of the book when I'm in the hospital. I say all this is from one bullet. Okay, and I say fast recoveries only happen in Hollywood.
Right.
I tell them it's not that it ain't that way. Okay.
Absolutely. Even today, the news media glosses over. Oh, there was a shooting. Yeah, but nobody died. There's a couple of wounded. They all yeah. They don't have no idea what a bullet could do going through someone's body.
Terrible.
well, you know what it is too, Ralph. They didn't experience that, you
Right.
know, and so it's easy to be the Monday quarterback, and say
Mhm.
this, that,
Right.
But when you get a bullet through you, or you got people shooting at you, or you
Right.
got bombs coming from every which way. It's easy to talk about it on Monday and say, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. How about you go out there and you volunteer, or you go and do something for your country instead of talking bullshit all the time?
Right.
Go out and do something.
That's
Show pride. Show pride.
You're absolutely right, Ray, and that's why I'm so proud of our guest tonight, Giles Purvis. I, as a friend, we were great friends, but to hear what he has been through and to now know it, I just feel that, like you said, if anyone ever wanted to learn more about what we're talking about tonight, about how horrible war is, how it treats people, the mushroom effect, all that, talk to a person like Giles. Go to the VA, do a volunteer work, talk to these people who have actually been in war. That's to me is the way we may fix society.
Right. War is hell. The aftermath is hell. And that's what people need to know, not what the media shows you, because they're only showing you what they want to show you, the reality of what's really happening here.
Mhm.
The reality of the guy who goes and shoots himself because he's sad, because of people like your friend, or, he goes and does something because he goes on a rampage.
Yeah.
It's because society has forgotten about that these people need help, and that's what we need to do. Not just talk about it, let's do something about it. Let's, let's volunteer at a VA, or let's go to a VFW event and talk to the vets and see what they went through, and maybe make them a meal. Maybe make them a meal and invite them over and say, you know what? I'm going to do this once a month. I'm just going to make a meal and have them come over and let them talk about whatever they want to talk about, and just make that person happy for a few minutes.
Yeah. See this here? You see that? Okay, that's a Purple Heart.
Absolutely.
All right, now, this particular Purple Heart is not mine, okay? Bruce Palaccio, Ralph, you know Bruce.
Yeah.
Called me up. They found this Purple Heart. It belongs to a guy named Jacob Goodman, who was a World War II veteran who died. They found this in a house, and they don't know what. You can't get a hold of anybody. I've tried online, everything. Bruce tried. We tried. But tomorrow, Giles, you'd be interested in this. Tomorrow, I got to do an interview with Ronnie Ambrose, okay, at New Windsor Purple Heart Hall of Fame, Hall of Honor, okay.
Yeah, John, I work right down the street from there.
Right, I'll be there tomorrow at 9:30.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring this with me. But they might have better connections, know how to get in touch with this person's family. If not, at least they can display it in the Purple Heart Hall of Honor. Okay? So I just want to let you know that, Giles, because I'll be there.
Yeah, I told you, I took, when it first opened up, I took Timmy over there and got him registered. So he's in their files over there, John. And they just got finished redoing the place again. There was a lot of construction going on there. I haven't been over there. I mean, I drive by that place at least once or twice a day delivering auto parts.
Yeah,
Great place.
Yeah. It's a nice place to visit. It really is. With the job they did on that is nice.
I remember the theater they had downstairs, it was pretty nice. I don't know what renovations they did to make it better, but it was really nice when I went there and took Timmy there. We went downstairs and watched the movie,
I was on that too.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize, now I know it was you, but yeah, when you said that, yeah, absolutely, great, awesome.
Nikki, how we doing with time, baby?
We're at 1 hour and 5.
Okay, so I guess we'll wrap it up, huh?
Can I just make a comment before we wrap it up?
Of course.
I just wanted to reach out to all my friends out there and family and say, listen, we need to come together for the people in Florida with the hurricane. They're in dire straits. A friend of mine had contacted me and said that they're in very, very much need of supplies, money, volunteers, to go down there. If I was healthy enough, I would go down there, but I'm not, unfortunately. But reach out, to your, local charities that participate. Knights of Columbus out here is doing a big drive for the people. Reach out to whoever you can to help these people, because they're definitely in my prayers, and I'm sure your prayers.
They really didn't mess up. Lost everything they had.
I just want to thank you all for having me on tonight and talking about my dear good friend Timmy. I miss him, man. I really do.
He sounds like a wonderful person, and he was very
He
lucky
was a great
to
guy.
have you.
And many laughs and good times together. And Donna, I'll be over to their house next week, getting her snow blowers out and everything. And Sharon and I'll be over there seeing her on Sunday. So we're still close, and it's like you said, John, it got you 6. That won't be that way, buddy.
So I'm just going to say that's good that you came on, because now the people, the world, whoever's watching, knows Tim existed.
Right. Right. And that's a big thing for his legacy. The way you explained it, Giles, and you placed importance on his life, and what you've done for him through his life. You've helped him so much. I'm really proud to call you my friend.
He
You
wasn't
are
just a
a
number.
true patriot. A
You're
true
here,
patriot, not only to your friend, but an example of what it is to be an American and what it is to give and love. And I would have a cup of coffee with you anytime. I would love to sit and talk with you because you're my kind of people.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Very nice. I'll sign off for Timmy. His call sign on his radio was 6 India, right? So, I said it before. So this is 6 India, Alpha Mike Foxtrot. And I sign off for Timmy, my dear friend.
Good, thank you. And give her all of our condolences to the family. All right.
I will pass it on. And John, if I can get up early enough tomorrow morning, it is my day off. I'll try to get over to for part.
Problem too. So we got to be at 9:30. You got to be kidding me.
Okay, bud.
All right,
And I'm
Giles.
just letting everybody know that something happened with my broadcasting. We were live, you just couldn't see us, but you heard us. So I'm gonna edit the show right after we get off, and it'll be rerunning again. If anybody missed it, and for tomorrow, so we can see our lovely faces. But the show was live; you can hear us. But I don't know. OBS hated
You're
me
doing a
tonight.
very
so
good job, Nikki.
I'm
You
trying.
really, I commend you, honey. You're doing a nice job for your dad, sweetie.
She's
Really
the
are.
best.
I'm
The
trying.
best.
Yeah,
I saw it go
puts
like
up
this.
a lot.
I saw it go like this at the beginning of the show. I said, "Uh-oh." Then I lost all my concentration to open up the show. I said, "Oh my God."
I told him, I said, it's very
Something was
hard for
wrong.
me to, like on one of the shows, I had a technical problem. So you forget, because I'm on a different screen, and I forget that everybody can still see me. And so I'm making all these facial expressions, and here we have our guest talking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I said to my dad, I was like, I hope these people aren't thinking like I'm making face expressions and what he's saying. Because I'm like, I was like, I'm trying to do all this technical stuff. So it's
Yeah, I was
hard
like-
to, I forget that
I
people
was
see
like
me.
I was like Jackie Gleason when I saw her do that. I said, hum.
Well, it's funny. Gianna kept coming running over. She goes, Mom, I can't see anybody. I was like, I know, I'm working on it. Mom, I only see the Liberty sign. I go, I know, I'm working it. Mom, I was like, I know. I'm like, I'm fixing
Technical
it.
difficulties.
So I'm gonna, once we edit it, you'll see it. It'll be fine. But at least everybody heard us. So, but
Gina will be our next producer. She's gonna carry your legacy.
yeah.
If she carries a quarter of your legacy, believe me, you've done a great job.
Thank you. I'm hoping. She's a good
I will
kid.
sign off. Nick.
Yep.
Thank everybody for tuning in.
Giles, thank you for
Okay,
coming
everybody.
on.
Thank you for having me, Nikki, John, Ralph, Ray.
Thanks,
Jen?
guys. Everybody, have a good
I
night.
hope I get to see you tomorrow.
God bless everybody. Peace be with you.
God bless you, buddy.
Love you. Bye.
Everybody, good night. God bless. Thanks.
Good night, John. Take care.
See you next time. Bye-bye. Good night.
Nikki, are we off, Nick?